Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. My humble apologies for the little bit of a late start this morning. Had, as you well know, technical issues. That's how it always goes sometimes. Had to kind of revamp a couple of things. So apologies for starting just a little bit late. I am a punctual person and I like to start on time. Good Monday morning. Welcome to Win Your Week with Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy. We focus in on providing, just a dose of inspiration, but then we move into tactical um, ideas and concepts and things that will help you as a retail leader, store manager, or multi-unit leader win your week. That is the focus of everything that we talk about. Um, today's topic. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting to talk about this one for a long time, a long time. I did the math. I did the math, um, and I want to say, I want to say, I would average. I think I averaged around 60, maybe to 70 store visits a month. You do the math, however that looks like in a year. Um, there were months where I actually doubled that number. I know I did. And then you do that for a year, then you multiply that times 27. I think it's like close to like I don't know 30,000 something like that. It's a crazy number. 21,000. It was like 21,000. I've done a lot of store of store visits. I love store visits. I hate being in the office, and so when I moved into retail, it's exactly what my fit was, and so we're gonna be talking about that today, and we're gonna be spending some time doing that as well too. But of course, I want to thank our sponsor, Bellwether, who sponsors this Win Your Week with retail leadership with Steve Worthy. The right knowledge is everything. But the right software is so important for retail professionals and brands, right? We talked the last couple of days or last couple of weeks about data literacy, and we talked about one of the areas around missed opportunities. Bellwether provides you with data to help you understand, help you realize where you are missing opportunities within your retail stores. They do this with foot traffic. They help you assess and understand where you currently are within your sales process, within your talent process, within your scheduling as well. But more importantly, they give you the data that's actually going to help you make proactive decisions so that you can be the best retail brand, a retail store that you have, that you can beat your competition. Data is key, data is critical, but more importantly, the right data is critical as it relates to you as a retail brand. So make sure you connect with Bellwether and tell them Steve sent you. Tell them Steve sent you. All right. Speaking of tell them Steve sent you, so we're going to be, I did an interview with the founder, Phil Elliott, and we are premiering that video on our YouTube channel tomorrow tomorrow morning. So make sure you go and check that out. I'll put a post about it. I think there's a link already in the comments. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. It's going to be it's a great interview. He's such a down to earth guy. He's so smart, so intuitive, loves data. But it's just an interview that we did, kind of understanding a little bit more about his thought process and how Bellwether actually helps retail brands as well too. All right, and I would be remiss this Thursday, we are launching our fall season for Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, the podcast. Yes, I don't have air horns. I don't have air horns ready yet. I wish I did. But I'm excited about this season. I'm excited about the season and everything that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be leading off with uh, leadership lessons from Ted Lasso. If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, um, you need to watch Ted Lasso. And it's an amazing, amazing show. I'm telling you, Ted Lasso needs to sponsor part of my podcast because I love the show so much and its relevance to retail leadership. Because retail, we talk about, it's about the human condition, it's about human connection. And that show does a great job of that. So we're going to be leading off our season with that. And then we'll be talking about, another topic that's near and dear to everyone's heart is that everything works at HQ. I'll save that one for next week because I know you want to know a little bit more about that one as well too. So we'll save that one for next week. All right, cool. So let's get into the inspiration. When I think about these inspirations, hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing, Cher? Good morning, Jamal. How are you doing, Miss Dean? Good to see you here too. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I think that see Jamal says, "Good morning." Yes, Ted Lasso is great. It is. Okay. When I do these inspirations, when I'm searching for inspirations, I these are not just. Can I be selfish for a second? These are just for you. So when I put these inspirations here, they literally speak to me too. They are not just for you. I think it would be kind of like disingenuous if I think I post something or maybe even talked about inspiration and it doesn't like impact my life. I don't know. That just feels kind of different to me. So this one right here. Until you dig a hole, you plant a tree, you water it, and make it survive. You haven't done the thing. You're just talking. So those of us who are old school, right? We had that old saying, they talking loud and they saying nothing, right? Just talking loud and they saying nothing. How many of you have been in meetings with people? They talking loud, they ain't saying nothing. How many people you have on your team? They talking loud, they ain't saying nothing, right? How about you? Are you talking loud and you ain't saying nothing? Are you planting anything, a vision, a dream, a goal, something that you want to do? Are you cultivating that? Right? It's one thing to say that you want to do something, to proclamate that you want to do something. I want to get I want to get promoted. I want to do this. I want to do that. Right? It's another thing. It's a complete other thing to actually water it and then to make it survive. There's so many different ways that we can talk about this. We can talk about with talent. Are you developing talent? Are you watering that talent? Are you feeding that talent? Right? Are you helping them to survive, giving them feedback in those rough moments? Right? But I want to turn it to you. I want to turn it to you as a leader. Right? So many of us, so many leaders I work with, all right, even just in the context of conversation, they say they want to do this. Steve, I want to get promoted. Steve, I'm thinking about maybe possibly leaving retail. Steve, I think I want to may want to make a move over here to this other company. That's great. Then we get into the conversation about how do you make this happen? Let's figure out how to make this happen. That's where we get lost. That's where things kind of fall flat. I don't want that to happen to you. If you are thinking about making a move, if you're thinking about trying to figure things out within your career, you have to water it. You have to try to figure out on how to make it survive, right? You can't do, and you cannot do that alone. You have to do that with help. You have to get people that are going to help you challenge your assumptions, that are going to help you figure out really who you are, like this hole in this plant that you're trying to dig, right? I've I've coached people who said they wanted to do X, but then when we get into the coaching conversation, they realize, you know what, X, that's Susie's ex. You're not only Susie's ex boyfriend. That's Susie's goal. You were living vicariously through Susie. You saw Susie get promoted, so that's what you felt that you wanted to do, right? And so until you realize and you start planting something and you start to water and cultivate it, you don't realize what it is that you truly want to do. You actually have to kind of get in there, do the work, and you may want this, but you're doing it based off of somebody else and what somebody else is doing. I don't want that for you. I want you to go after the things that you want to go after. I want you to go after the things that you want to go after. Um, Hopefully, this has helped you. This inspirational has helped you this Monday morning, and to think about where you currently are in your career. Where's your team? Those of you who run large teams, where's your team at right now? Where do you want them to be? It's one thing to proclamate to your team, I want to be the best team in this region. I want to be the best team on this side of the states. I want to be the best team in Florida. That's all great. That's all great, right? But what are you doing differently? How are you helping them? How are you watering them? Are you helping them survive? So take this with you until you dig a hole, you plant a tree, you water it, and you make it survive. You haven't done a thing. You're just talking. You're just talking. I don't want you to just talk. I don't want you to just talk. All right. Speaking of talking, I need you to be part of worthyretailnews.com. Thank you for everybody who's been subscribing as well. It's been growing weekly. You know, the other part is that we often get on our Thursday live audio rooms is that, oh, you know, hey, Steve, I missed it, and where can I get the audio? You can get it over at worthyretailnews.com. You actually can get all of our articles. We actually this week we actually have a great article from my good friend Sylvia Ola, and she's going to be talking about HR and processes as it relates to the retail leader. It's going to be an amazing article, so you don't want to miss that. That's going to be coming up on Wednesday. And then, of course, all of our audio clips from our Thursday lives are available, you know, kind of for our paid subscribers over there on Worthy Retail News. So I want you to be part of the community. I want you to be part of the subscriber base so that you don't miss anything. But more importantly, we continue the conversation from our Wednesdays to our podcast to our lives, all the content that we put out there. We are focusing on, helping the deliver and identify and address those unspoken challenges that retail leaders face. All right. So today's main topic, if you're a tactical topic, that's last week's. Speaking of last week's, I'm turning this one into a podcast too. We had so many people love the data literacy series from the last 2 weeks or last 3 weeks. So we are turning that into a podcast as well. So don't miss that. That one is coming up as well. Store visits don't have to suck. Um, I was a district manager. I had a market in Central New York, and I was at Syracuse and Rochester, and then upper, Watertown, and then I went all the way down to not Ithaca. Oh my gosh, it was the southern tier of New York State, and I was in the car. I'm driving, and because I'm an early riser and I get to stores early, and I got a call. It was my senior vice president, and I was just like, okay, just thought he was checking in. He said, "Hey, you remember when I told you I was coming to see you?" And I was like, "Yeah." So is that next week? We had a good rapport, and I was like, "Is that next week?" He was like, "No, I'll meet you at X number store at like 9:30." He was flying in from Philly, and they were already at the jet, and they're flying in. How many of you have experienced that? How many of you have experienced that situation? How many of you have experienced the dreaded phone call? Oh, so and so's out. Or if those of you who in retail, you know this, you know how this goes down. The corporate jet's in the air. The corporate jet's in the air. Where are they going? Where are they going? Then the next question, who's on the plane? Right? If you were as savvy as moi, you would befriend the person who was who had the longest tenure with the company, your peer, or maybe the level above you, and they had the inside track to all of the information that was actually happening at the FOB. That's where the corporate jets take off from, and there's an itinerary, and you know exactly who's on those flights, right? And you kind of plan accordingly. That's just a little inside track. That's just a little inside thing that I wanted to give you. I wanted to give you. But how many of you get nervous in those situations? How many of you were like, oh my gosh, no, don't come, please don't come to my store. Please don't come to my market. Please don't come. I had 5 call outs. Oh my gosh. Those are real situations. I'm not I'm not really I'm not really talking about those, because those happen often than not. But I want to help prepare you. Today's message is really for store managers and those who are aspiring to be multi-unit leaders. Because next week we're going to delve into multi-unit leaders and uh, how they play a massive role, of course, within a successful store visit and really helping store visits not to suck. All right, so I'm gonna give you some really good stuff today. Let me 1 second. Let me get to get to my word inspiration. We're there. Okay. Da da da. All right. Here we go. Know one thing. Okay. I know this sounds harsh, but it's true. And we're gonna get deep into this stuff. We're gonna get deep into this stuff. You are only as good as your last visit. Put the trophy on the shelf and move on. Okay. Let that sink in for a second. Put something in the comments and what do you think about when you hear this? What do you think about when you hear this? Because it's true. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I will always be honest with you. You are only as good as your last visit. Put the trophy on the shelf and move on. I don't care. I don't care if you had the CEO in your company of the company in your store or in your market, and you crushed it, right? And you just like you dominated, and you were like, "Oh wow, I know I crushed that visit. That's awesome." Revel in that for the day. Take the wins, leverage those wins, and then try your best to mitigate the opportunities. And then next thing you need to do is put that thing on the shelf, because tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow you probably get 5 call outs and then the store gets a wreck. Tomorrow you may miss a truck, right? Tomorrow you you know pallets may fall and break, and now you got a mess all over the place, right? You have to be able to adapt, take the win, take the opportunity, and put that on the shelf. Now, when I say as good as your last visit could have been horrible. And that's exactly it, right? You're as good as that last visit, right? So when someone comes into your store, to your market, what do you think they're gonna expect? Right? What do you think they're gonna expect? I've done tons, thousands of visits. Thousands of visits. And let me let me break down to you what happens on a visit. And this is This is there are so many different moving parts, but I'm going to just give them right to you. Like these are just what happens on a visit. You have to have the ability to assess quickly, infer properly, identify and build talent, ideate problems, and create solutions. That's it. That I know, oh my gosh, there's so many different nuances to it. But when you break all of the different aspects of a store visit down, you are as me when I come into a store, I'm assessing quickly and I'm inferring properly based on my assessment. Where are you with X, Y, and Z? Where are you with this corporate initiative? Where are you with talent? Where are you with seasonal? Right? Where are you with our last visit? Right? Where are you with our last visit? Last visit was awesome. Well, I walk in, I'm not seeing our last visit. You're as good as your last visit. No one's going to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you it. I'm going to tell you this right now. You are identifying talent. And here's the thing every visit, as a store manager, you need to utilize these visits as moments of cultivating talent, bringing talent to the forefront, helping them understand how you are ideating problems and you are creating solutions, right? Or as I talk about, this Thursday, I'm going to talk about here later. This Thursday and Friday, Thursday and Saturday, we have our live. It's very our live intimate retail leader training. And one of the things that I talk about in this in the training is that there's an interview before the interview. We get so gung ho about trying to get the interview for the job, but listen to me, you're not going to get that interview until you successfully do this interview. And these are the things where I start talking about identify and build talent. That this is the interview before the interview. How are you bringing talent to your store manager, or excuse me, to your district manager, to your regional manager, to your executive vice president, right? How are you creating solutions? This is the interview before the interview, right? Because you are thinking about your ability to identify problems and to create solutions in the moment, right? That's an interview question. But also, whoever's going to be interviewing you, possibly your boss or your boss's boss, right? They're looking at how you are creating, are identifying problems within your own store, and then how are you creating solutions relative to that? Ability to assess quickly, infer properly, identify and build talent, ideate problems, and create solutions. That when you look at a visit, those are the things that go into it. Those are the things that go into it. So I want to give you a couple of fundamental things. I see everybody in the chat. Hey, good morning, Christine. Good morning, Valentina. How are you doing? She says situationally based assessments are damaging. Um, situationally based. Give me some more context to what you're what you're talking about with situationally based assessments are damaging. And then Rick says, retail life happens. I'm telling you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, good morning to you. Good morning to you as well. All right, so I'm gonna give you top tip. This is a top tip, and we train on this. We train on this individually, but we also train on it with retail teams, and we talk about this, of course, in the my upcoming book, The Approachable Retail Leader. Talking about approachability. And when we think about your visit, you think about everything that we just talked about. This is a top tip for you to help you kind of move through this approachability. It's the difference between being informed versus finding out. It's strength through connection, it's empowerment through access, and you have to learn to be preemptive with your communication. You have to learn to be preemptive with your communication. When we think about a store visit, I I told my team this is where I got this definition from because I used it all the time, and I told my team I would rather be informed than I have to find out. I would rather be informed 2 or 3 days before I visit your store that you're missing payroll, before I actually have to get to the store and realize that you're missing payroll. Here's the thing: I already know you're missing payroll, so just tell me, right? Being when I say finding out, meaning like okay, you're not like, oh Steve, I'm missing payroll. And like, dude, you've been missing payroll for the last, 2 weeks. I already know that. So approachability allows a person to kind of let their hair down and be able to provide you with information and data that allows you to be preemptive, right? Preemptive in your communication. It allows you to be preemptive. How many of us have found out that a top talent within a store that we have oversight for is leaving? How many of you have come to a store Monday morning and you find out that Tom, your best in stocks person is leaving, right? So here's the thing about approachability and what happens, that you have the result. So Tom's leaving. This is the result. But Tom didn't make that decision, right, to leave like on Sunday night. It's Monday morning. Tom didn't make that decision to leave Sunday night. Tom made that decision all the way down here. This was 2 months ago. Tom was thinking about this, right? And if you, and then the in between here is this measure of approachability that as a leader, you need to have to connect with your team, to empower your team through connection, to be able to be relatable enough so that you can be informed, even whether it's by Tom or Tom can inform their boss that, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, or I may be disgruntled about X, Y, and Z. These are that's that period. That approachability is that moment in time where you can actually go in and actually help and connect, and it saves time. It allows you to retain talent, but more importantly, you build your capacity as a leader. Because if you are approachable, people people and amenable people can give you stuff. They can give you information, right? That can help you make faster, quicker decisions. It goes right back. It goes right back to this right here: the ability to assess quickly, infer properly, identify and build talent, and then ideate problems and create solutions. This is the approachability helps you with all of these things. But we get so caught up in not realizing that we need to be able to connect with our teams on a different basis, because that will help the store visit go so much easier. Less stress, less stress, because we know, right? I had a I had a huge turnaround market, huge turnaround market. Every day I walked into to the stores like fearful of what I was going to find out, because I hadn't built up the proper approachability with the team yet. And every day I woke up like, oh my God, what am I going to find out today? Right? And don't let me get a visit from my boss or my boss's boss, because I hadn't gotten to the market to where I wanted it to get to yet. Oh man, I was fearful. I mean, I am not I'm not a scaredy cat, but I was so fearful because I didn't get to market to where I wanted it to be at. I haven't developed the approachability where people can, inform me of stuff yet. So I had to quickly get there. So approachability is the top tip. Here's another one. This one right here is going to change your life. If it doesn't, you can come back to me and say, Steve, this didn't do anything for me. But this right here is going to change your life right now. And there are two different things that I always looked at from a store standpoint. I looked at systemic issues and non-systemic issues. As a multi-unit leader, hopefully, and we'll talk more about this for you next week, hopefully you have this mentality. I really hope you have this mentality, because you will save yourself a lot of heartache. You will save yourself a lot of heartache. Systemic issues, those things, they take time. They're widespread. They are things that you see within a store that you have identified and maybe been informed about, that are going to take longer than, you know, 24 hours, maybe even 72 hours to fix. It could take a week, could take a week or two. It could be scheduled, massive scheduling gaps because you are woefully understaffed. Right? That's a systemic issue that I am not on that visit. I am not expecting you to fix by the time I leave that building. What I am expecting is that you have, by the time we do leave that building, you have developed a plan and process. So within 7, 10, 14 days, maybe even a little bit, whatever it may be, I'm just using payroll, not, excuse me, I'm using staffing as an example. You are developing a plan to get that fixed, right? The systemic issues are I don't, as a multi-unit leader, I don't go to the mat on non-systemic issues. Systemic issues are the ones that I'm looking for. I am looking for, okay, you know what? This is the third time I've visited, and that end cap or that part of the planogram, it has been empty, right? We scan it. If there's a negative count on hand, well, who's doing the negative counts? You're not going to get anything back. You're not going to get anything in here with a negative count. Who's adjusting this? How come this hasn't been adjusted? Now I go in and I look at the history of the product, and I can actually see no one has touched this section, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's a systemic issue. That's a talent issue. That's a productivity issue, right? But if there's an end cap that's not full, I'm like, okay, I see the product up there. Go ahead and get that fixed. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's move forward. Non-systemic issues are isolated, right? Ideally, they can be fixed within 2 to 24 hours, right? End caps, certain in-stock gaps, maybe a couple of talent gaps as it relates to your scheduling and things like that, or whatever it may be. But here's the other thing about non-systemic issues, and I'm telling you, this is going to help you out right now. Too, all this stuff I'm just saying is going to help you out. Is that non-systemic issues? Try your best as a store manager. Try your best to get those non-systemic issues fixed before I leave the store, if you can, by as best as you possibly can. It's a table that needed to be folded. It's an end cap that needed to be pulled. And guess what? The store's open now, and you can't go and get that pallet down. Well, yes, you can. If you have a 2-man team, yada yada yada, you can go get that pallet down and then fill that end cap, and that's a done deal. Because you may have forgot that on your in stocks process or whatever it may be. But get that full. Try your best to get as many of those systemic issues that are pointed out fixed as quickly as possible. That will set you up for success down the line. And it's done. And you don't have to worry about when I leave the building to get it done. Maybe you don't have the manpower. I get it. Sometimes you may not. But those are the different things. So systemic versus non-systemic issues, try your best to identify what those are in your store. And then and what I said here earlier, learn to be preemptive with your communication. I think I'm going to talk about it here in this next one. Am I? No, I'm not. Um, when when I walk into a store, I want to know what I'm going to see. I think I'm going to talk about that here in a second. I want to know what I'm going to see. This is where you communicate. Where you communicate your systemic versus non-systemic issues to whoever's visiting your store, right? This gives them a perspective of what they're going to see. Hey, we got a couple of end caps that are blown out, but we're going to be getting those things fixed. Hey, we got an in-stocks issue over in aisle so-and-so in commodities, yada, yada, yada. Hey, you know what? We had a call out for our tape from a soft lines person, and we're going to be doing, we're bringing, Tiffany on over. While the store's slow, she's going to be folding the tables. Boom. Great. Guess what you just did? Guess what you just did? Going to back up. You have the ability to assess quickly, infer properly, and then you've used talent that you currently have in the building to identify. So you've already identified the problem, but you've used talent in the building to create a solution. Love that. Love that. Love that. As a multi-unit leader, love that. Those are awesome pieces for you to do. All right. I'm not going to touch this one. This one. The last visit, I'm not going to touch that one. I think hopefully I've been able to kind of give you a really good perspective on sort of the how, right? Excuse me, sort of the, know one thing. I want to get into the ask one thing. Let me know in the comments if this is making sense to you. Let me know if this is, you're getting some value out of this, and uh, and if this is something that is resonating with you. Let me know if you have a question about anything that I just covered, because we have two more things that we're going to be talking about: the ask one thing and then the do one thing. So put something in the comments and let me know, or you can even DM me if you don't want to put something in the comments as well. I completely understand that. All right. So, and I think I talked about this. I kind of put, I always give too much, but here's the one thing to ask. Well, it's not just one thing. What will they see? What will they be walking into? Right. That's important. That's important. Oops, I kind of got too many cameras up here. Um, what will they be walking into? What will you be walking into? Right. So I just think about it. Just think about that story I told you at the very beginning when I got the call. I got the call from my senior vice president, and first thing I did, of course, after I got off the line with him, was I went right and called the store managers. That I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing any comments or anything like that. I went and called the store managers immediately, right? That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. You make sure that you communicate, hey, we're about to get a visit um from so and so. How's the store looking? What does that look like? You know, what are they going to be walking into, right? What are you going to be walking into, right? You're on your way to the store. I'm on my way to the store, Steve, as well. Okay. Well, what are you going to be walking into? I'm not sure yet. You should know. You should know based off of your scheduling, based off of yesterday, based off of where you currently are within your store. You should know. You should have a good idea of what you're going to be walking into. I know these. And I know as I speak, I know some of you are like, well, I'm not in that position, Steve, within my store, right? Talent is tough to get. There are so many things that are vying for my attention, and um, I don't have the bandwidth to kind of get there to the level that you're talking about. That's okay. That's okay. The idea and the focus and the goal of everything that I'm talking about is to give you the tools so that you can get to that point. Is to give you the um, perspective of, well, I'm not there yet, but these are the things that I need to possibly have in place. These are some of the steps that I need to be looking at. These are some of the conversations that I need to be thinking about. Because if you're not having these conversations, then you can't invoke any change. There can't be any change without conversation. There can't be any change without identifying where your gaps are, right? And it's retail. It is retail. Everybody has gaps. All the stores have gaps, right? All the stores have gaps. You do. Even some of my best stores had gaps in certain areas, right? And what happens is when you have those stores that have like that do really well, and you try to call them out on something. Well, I do this really well. Yeah, that's great. But we're talking about this. All right. So, what will they be walking into? And and then this goes right into, what can I fix quickly? What are your top issues? Right. What do I need help with? I could have probably just left the other two off and left this one on here, because part of the interview, excuse me, part of the visit process, and this is where a lot of store managers get themselves into trouble, is they forget to ask for help. They forget to ask for help. You got to learn how to ask for help. And I don't want to ask for help because then my peers are going to know that my store is not great, and then my boss is going to know that. Listen to me, your boss is worth anything. They already know. They already know where your gaps are, right? That's just like when I talk. Coaching the coaching call the other day, and I was talking to the person about their strengths and opportunities, and they don't want to um, they they they're hesitant to kind of talk about it to the team. I said, listen to me. Your team already knows. Your team already knows where your strengths and opportunities are. They already know. So when you have a conversation with them, they're gonna be like, "Thank you. It's about time. It's about time you've identified the fact that you're not good with this, right? It's the same thing. It is the same thing. Your boss already knows. So a lot of times they're waiting for you to ask for help because there has to be ownership. There has to be ownership, right? We always talk about a store manager. Oh my gosh, well, you own your own business and all that. I get that, but owning your own business also means helping, communicating where you may be falling short, right? You may not, Steve. I don't have the culture. The culture in my company isn't as such that I can actually do that and then not be seen as a problem or that's gonna hinder my development. I understand that. I completely understand that. And shame on those cultures. Shame on those company cultures that actually have that. Shame on those cultures that actually have that. You can't do that. You can't be that way. You can't be that way. It's a whole nother story. And then I'm gonna move past this because I want to get to the do one thing so we can move forward. So you got to prep your team. You got to prep your team. You have to prep your team. Communicate challenges with the solution. Take action and communicate those things quickly. These are the do's when it comes to a store. Was on a store, had a market visit, um, and I was I was visiting stores with my senior vice president, and I actually happened to be visiting some of my peers' stores, which is awkward, but it was a developmental thing, and so we go to their store, we go to one store. There's a distinct display that um, is needed to be set up. It's like one of those corporate, how like a company will pay for an end cap within your store, right? And it's like one of those things like that needed to be done like 2 days ago. So we go to one of the stores and it's not set up. It's not set up. So it's like, okay. So they start wheeling the stuff out. We go to another store, another one of the stores. It's not set up. We go to four of his stores. We go four stores total. None of the stores had it set up. We had to tell each store. And senior vice president says, "You got a communication issue." And they're like, "Huh?" So he said, not one of your stores that we visited called the other stores to let them know that, hey, this end cap needs to be up. Let that marinate for a second. Let that marinate for a second. We went to four of his stores. We went to one store. We ended up going to three more. And those other three, not one of them communicated that, hey, we're going to be setting this up. Or hey, we know that this is important, right? So we're going to be da. That right there is a massive, massive, massive red flag. Massive red flag there. There's no continuity within that team. I know that sounds so kind of like thin line, but it's a massive piece that your team is lacking continuity. Lacking continuity. Can't do that. So prep your team. Prep your team. Everybody, at anytime. This is this is another pro tip, and I don't have it on here because I want to move forward. Um, um, another pro tip is that whenever you're about to get a meeting, and maybe you do this, maybe you don't. Whenever you're about to get a visit, do a quick huddle. A quick huddle. Top top wins, top opportunities, right? The opportunities, who's fixing them, who's responsible for them, and when are they going to get fixed? If you don't have time to like do a quick like you know you know what do they call it all hands on deck type of deal, you need to have a quick you know process and structure in place where you are talking about your wins, you're talking about your opportunities, the opportunities, who's responsible for them, who's going to fix them, and be able to communicate that at the very beginning of the visit. So when they walk the stores, when I walk a store, I'm able to see that, and I already know that Tiffany's going to be handling this very quickly. Prep your team. 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 And then the last thing, of course, is just to, um, identify those opportunities, address them quickly, take a partner. So when the last this is the last piece that I wanted to talk about, and this one I should have titled this one around systemic issues. Is that a lot of times there are systemic issues that you see and that you've been able to identify within your stores. You have to take a partner with them. You have to take a partner on them because they are bigger than what you can actually solve at that point in time. So you may need to take a merchandise buyer partner. You may need to take an HR partner. You may need to take an in-stocks partner. You may need to take an operational partner. You may need to take a regional food leader, partner. Somebody. You have to take a partner to help you do that. And then you have to be realistic with the timing that it's going to take for you to get this done. You have to be realistic for that. Have to be realistic. All right. Woo! I know that was a lot. What time is it? Oh my gosh, I am so far beyond that my usual time frame. I know I gave you a lot. I gave you a lot. I didn't know I'm gonna get some feedback from Cher on this one too, that I've gone too far and I've given you too much. But hopefully, if there are any questions, if you have any questions in the from any of this, go ahead and put it in the comments, or um, once again DM me to I want to address them. I want to address anything that you may be thinking about as it relates to this. I think I'm going to probably end up doing an article on this, and I end up probably doing a podcast episode on this because I know that a lot of these things that we spoke about, there people need to hear this. They need to hear this not just during fourth quarter. They need to hear this kind of year round. Some of these tips that are going to be impactful for you as a retail leader, as a store manager for your store, so that you can be successful. We everything that we talk about, all the content that we create, we have two programs that we focus in on, and one is You See the Shirts Make a Move, where we help retail leaders and also their teams understand when it is they need to make a move up, on, or out of the organization, and we just do that through our coaching and training program. The other thing is that we have Worthy Retail Leadership, our playbook. We all know in retail, every season that there's a playbook. There's a playbook. You have one for Valentine's Day, summer, right? Spring, Q4. We all have a playbook. But do you have a playbook for your leadership? Do you? Do you? The issue with retail leaders, and I'm saying it because I was one, is that we focus on so many different things. There are honestly four things that you should be focused in on: accountability, approachability, and retainability. How are you valuing and creating a valued opinion? What does it look like to master the boost, the criticism that you have in your life? What are those things? And then the last one, I think I talked a little bit about, was retainability. How are you developing a valued persona or brand? How are you becoming retainable? Right, those are the four things that we talk about in our playbook. But the last part is that we bring it all together in a plan, in a playbook for you in your leadership, for whether it's for you individually or it's going to be for you and your team. We're working on something. We're doing part of this leadership playbook with Wayfair next week, and a couple other companies coming up as well. Love to get with you and get with your team so that we can provide them with some solid solutions and understanding of where they are as a leader, but more importantly, provide them with a playbook so that they can be the best leaders that they possibly can be as well too. So connect with me over here on LinkedIn. DM me. I would greatly appreciate that and connecting with you as well. So without further ado, I am going to let you go. Get to your Monday. Leave me some comments. Let me know your thoughts about any of the things that we discussed and talked and spoke about. All right. Have a great Monday, and let me make sure I got this right thing. Have a great Monday, and God bless.